Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs, and of course, this is the first in my Christmas in July series, and it is a bit of a non-traditional card, but let's jump right in. So I'm going to create two cards, as you just saw, and I'm just going to cut down my cardstock for that. So I have two pieces of HammerMill cardstock that's going to be my panel, and then I'm going to have a black mat that's cut down to about 1/8 an inch smaller than my A2 bases, and my panels will be cut down to about 1/4 of an inch smaller than the A2 bases. I like that kind of thin border look, so that is what I'm going for here. I just think it looks really pretty. And now in the Christmas in July series, I try really hard to have a really good mix of traditional cards and non-traditional cards. So if Christmas isn't really your thing, you could easily turn this into like a birthday card or, kind of make it whatever you want it to be, just change the sentiment. So that's what I like to think of when I do Christmas cards for this series. I will be doing a Christmas style card all of the month. Even my 2 lives, they're going to be Christmas themed as well. So all month we're going to do some Christmas stuff because I think that'd be a lot of fun. So this is kind of starting that off. So I'm going to blend on 3 colors of Oxide ink here for this one. I've got Worn Lipstick, Seedless Preserves, and Peacock Feathers. And I just really wanted to do a fun, vibrant color palette for one of these cards. The second panel, I'm going to blend on Rustic Wilderness and Lumberjack Plaid, and that will be your more kind of traditional color, though the card is still a bit of a whimsical and kind of mixed media vibe, actually. I just really like to blend both those kind of worlds when I create this, and I find the Christmas in July series is a lot of fun because I get to kind of play. I get to come up with really fun and creative ideas that are very different from your kind of, traditional Christmas card, though I do try to make sure I add some of those as well. Before this, I just blended through the colors, and because we're going to cover this, it doesn't really matter if your blending's perfect, it doesn't matter if your colors go together beautifully, that doesn't really matter for this because we're going to cover it. Because when I blend this one, red and green make brown because they are, complementary colors, so I don't want them to overlap. I want them to be next to each other because I do want my panel to have color, but I'm not going to blend them. So you're going to see just a very thin line where these two colors do not blend over top of each other because I'm not trying to create a brown panel, although that would be cool for a Christmas card too. That's just not what I'm aiming for here. So I get them up close to each other, but I do not have them blend over top of one another. You could probably for this because again, we're going to cover it, but I try to stay away from creating brown unintentionally, so I did not add that kind of over top the blending that you can see in the other card panel that will add some really interesting colors when we kind of get into this. And then when I go in with this folder, this is the Tim Holtz Botanical 3D embossing folder. And I'm going to run this through my switch twice with each panel because I really want the raised 3D parts of this, and you could use any 3D embossing folder you have for this, but I felt like this one kind of lent itself more towards that Christmas feel, and I love florals, so I just was having a lot of fun playing with florals, but you don't need to. You could have done like geometric shapes. There's no wrong way to do this. This just, I thought, lent itself well to the Christmas-esque feel. And then I really wanted to darken up the areas that were recessed. So you have those areas that are sticking up that are beautiful from that 3D embossing folder. And then I really wanted to kind of emphasize the areas that were, recessed and still flat. So at first I tried to use some black soot archival ink, but it didn't work as well as I wanted to. So I'm going to show you what I did instead. If I had black soot paint, I would have tried that. And I have some, but for the life of me, I could not find it while trying to make this card. So I'm going to go in a little bit and you'll see what I do to kind of ramp up the darkness of this panel. And I do just make sure that my panel fits back exactly where I ran it through the first time, and then I'm going to run it through again, and this does make it darker, but it doesn't make it dark enough for what I was going for. But the technique works, it just wasn't quite as dark as I wanted. So I did this, you can see here we've done it once, and it did darken up the areas. It just was not as dark as I was hoping, and I couldn't think of an ink that I had that it would have done a lot darker than what I've done here. So like I said, black paint probably would have worked really well, but sadly, for the life of me, I could not find my black soot paint. And I do have other paints, but some of them are like wash, so they're water-based. So I wasn't sure how well that would work, so I didn't try it on this card, because I'm really happy with how this comes together. I wanted it to be so much darker than it ended up being, but we'll fix that here in the next part. But I wanted to show you this because this is, kind of how I started, and you could leave it here. Like, that does darken up those areas and it really helps the blending pop, but it wasn't enough for me. So I've gone in, you can see her on the red and green piece, and I have colored it in with a black Posca marker. And it is so good. The Posca marker actually dries like a matte black, so it turned out beautiful. Like, it loves, like, those colors just pop. I love how like vibrant they look now. And this was more what I was trying to achieve. I wanted a really rich, deep, dark black. So if you know of an ink that is like really rich and deep and dark, let me know what it is. Just the black. I only want a black one. But yeah, let me know, because I would like to add it to my collection so that I can kind of do this. But I got there anyway. It wasn't a problem. This is a little bit tedious, but honestly, I was having so much fun making these cards that it really didn't matter. I like to watch YouTube while I'm creating cards. I usually have like my iPad sitting in front of me, and I watch videos while I create. And so it's really fun to kind of zone out and do something like this. A lot of the time I actually I'll do mandala art on envelopes that I'm mailing out, and that's what I do. I put on a YouTube video and I just kind of like doodle on the envelope, and I just have a blast. And this was a lot like that. So it was pretty fun. I hope that when you're making, you're just enjoying the journey of the making, not just the end product. I do find sometimes I get caught in that whole end loop of, I just want to be finished what I'm making so that I'm done my project. And sometimes I have to remind myself that that's not the purpose, or maybe we're having a day where creating's maybe not what I should be doing, because I do have days where creating is difficult, and those days I try really hard to step away from creating and do something else. I'll read a book, or I'll watch a movie, or whatever I can to kind of recharge, because obviously I've used up my creative battery a little too much, because I want to enjoy the creating, not just the end result of what I'm making. So I hope that you guys are enjoying it, because that is kind of the purpose of this. But yeah, so you can see here how vibrant that has added for those colors, because this black is so dark black that it just really helps those other colors pop, and I love it. And I am going to go in and add some more to it, just because I am a more is more style crafter, and I can't leave well enough alone. I struggle to not want to add all the things to my card designs, because I have so much fun creating them that I just keep going, and sometimes I don't know when to stop. So I had a lot of fun with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some of my distress medium. This is the distress collage medium. There we go. I couldn't remember the name. And just the brush that Tim Holtz brought out for this. And I'm going to just dump a little bit of the rock candy glitter on top, because glittery things, why not? If I had had the Tim Holtz spritz in my hands when I made this card, I would have used them. Sadly, I didn't have them in time. I've already made these cards, and I have the spritz now. I just got them yesterday, but so they're going to show up in some Christmas cards, because glitter is everything on a Christmas card. But I didn't have them in hand when I made this, or I sure as heck would have used them, because they look stunning and I cannot wait to play with them. I'm so excited. But yeah, so that would have been another way to add some glitter that wouldn't quite have been as messy as this is, because you do have to kind of deal with a little bit of the rock candy glitter falling off. But that doesn't bother me. I just clean. I clean my desk pretty much constantly anyway, so I'm not really worried about that. I don't craft well in clutter, so I tend to have a very clean space. But if loose glitter is not your thing, you could use some Perfect Pearls. You could go in with like the spritz or the mica sprays. You would have done that before you added the dark part, obviously. But that would have been another way to add some glitter that wouldn't have had loose glitter involved. And then I brought in the Tim Holtz Bold Text Christmas. This came out 2 years ago, I think. I could be wrong on my dates. Anything that I've used, I will link and list down below if you're at all interested in the item or where you can purchase it. And anything that you cannot purchase anymore, because I am going to use some gems a little later that you can't get, I'll try to find alternatives for. And then I wanted to bring in just a couple of snowflakes just because I love the look of snowflakes. So these are the Tim Holtz Paper Snowflakes Mini, and I just picked out the 3 smallest ones because I don't want them to steal the show, but I want them to just add a little bit more extra on the front of the card. So I cut out the Joy 3 times. I cut it out once from the white glitter cardstock and then twice just from regular white cardstock because I am going to layer it up to give it just a little more oomph. And then I did cut out the 3 snowflakes twice as well because I am making 2 cards, so everything I'm doing is of course duplicated. And yeah, I just had a blast with these cards. They were a lot of fun to make. So hopefully you guys are enjoying watching them. So I did go through and I just adhered the 3 layers of the text. This just gives the text a little bit more visual weight. It helps it stand out against a very busy background, and it catches your eye, though the white also catches your eye. So, I mean, either way, hopefully the sentiment would catch your eye, but I went for a very small sentiment because of that. Small in like letters, not small in size, because it is a decent size, but it only has the 3 letters, right? So it was a pretty simple sentiment to get down on the cardstock there. And now I'm just going to adhere everything down. And I do end up using my acrylic blocks just to hold the letters in place so that the glue can dry before they start to shift, because you have to keep in mind the background is got this 3D element, and it has this 3D element, and because of that the glue, it does take it a second to kind of grab and stay where I want it to. So I did just put something a little bit heavy on top so that they would not shift around while the glue was trying to grab. And I'm going to do the same thing for the snowflakes here in a second when I add them, and I just kind of add them as an embellishment up the side beside the sentiment. You don't need the snowflakes. If you like this at this point, you don't have to add them. I just wanted something a little bit more to break up a bit of that background and kind of give you something else to focus on. I hope that my designs tend to, draw your eye in, and then your eye can kind of move around the panel. That's kind of always my thought when I'm creating a card. And I try to hit it every time, maybe though sometimes I don't. But I hope the snowflakes kind of help your eye move along the panel. So that's kind of what I was thinking when I added them. That, and I just, snowflakes on a Christmas card are, like a match made in heaven. I just, snowflakes have to be, beside florals and butterflies, my favorite thing to add to cards. So any excuse to bring them and add them to a card is, where I'm at. So I had a lot of fun with that. And I am going to bring in a little gem that I'm going to put in the center of the snowflakes. Those gems you cannot get anymore. They were made by Nuvo. They were the Nuvo Pure Sheen gems. I've had them in my stash for years, because I only use a couple per card, right? And though I make a lot of cards, I do have a fair amount of embellishments in my stash. So because of that, I'm slowly working through some of them. And these ones, you can't get these anymore. So I'll try to link something fairly similar to them. They're just like this slightly off-white color, and they're larger, and they're really fun to use. But yeah, I haven't been able to found them anywhere else. So yeah, so we'll link to something similar as close as I can. And then, so now I'm just going to start adhering my layers, and then I'm going to go in and add some, you don't need to do this next step. Okay. I mean, you need to adhere these down because you're building a card. But when we get to adding the white gel pen, you don't have to do that if that's not your thing. Like I said, am a more is more style crafter. So I do tend to go a little bit overboard. And there are steps that you really could leave out if you were recreating these cards. But I had a lot of fun with it, and I think that it just gave it a little more whimsy, which, seeing how whimsical these cards already are as Christmas cards, I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. So I had a lot of fun with that. We'll get into that here in a second after I adhere the panels down. I did use some Big Mama foam tape from Simon Says Stamp because it is like a 1/16 of an inch thick. It's very, very thin foam tape, and I love it because it's so thin, and so it adds a little dimension without adding a ton of bulk. And as a person who, I sell my cards and I mail them to my pen pals and my happy mail list and all that jazz, I try really hard to not add tons of bulk to my cards so that I can easily mail them out without having it cost crazy amounts in stamps, though my cards do tend to be a little pricier in the stamps. But But yeah, and luckily this foam tape also, if you don't line it up perfectly, if you haven't pushed it down, it is a little bit forgiving. You can see here that I've lifted it up twice because I didn't get it lined up how I wanted it. And so that was easy to just lift it up before I had pushed it down and just kind of line it up nicely so that it was where I wanted it on the card base. Because I do try to center my things. That's why I kind of give them that little layer, though honestly, sometimes they're a little off center and I don't even mind. It's just a handmade card, and hopefully whoever receives it still loves it regardless. And then this is the white gel I'm talking about. I went in with a white gel pen and I wanted to break up the black space just a little bit and add a little more whimsy, because why the heck not? I've already thrown everything in the kitchen sink at this card, so why not add a little more? So I went in with my white gel pen and I just added little dots in a couple of different sizes throughout the black space. So it's still dark, like it doesn't break away from that, but it does break that space up a little, and you could think of it like it was a little snow, or it was, you know, whatever you want to think that it is. I just thought that that was a really fun way to add just even more whimsy to this card. But if you don't want to do that step, by no means do you have to. I think that they were beautiful before. This is just me and my style and my needing to add all the things. So by all means, do what works for you. But this was kind of just a fun way for me to add even more whimsy to these cards. And honestly, I love them. I also did go in and add just a touch of like white jig, like they're kind of skippy lines. You'll see them here when I hold it up. You can see across the, if I could pick it up, you'll see across the greenery and the red parts that I added just like white skippy lines just for like a little bit of highlight on those colors. Again, you don't have to do that. It just gives it a little more life, and I love it. I love how these came together. They are everything that I love about Christmas cards, and I had so much fun making these. It was just a blast. So I hope you like them. I hope you'll leave me a like, leave me a comment, let me know what you think of them. Let me know if you have any ideas for Christmas in July you'd like to see. I'd be happy to hear what you have to say, so let me know. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would love to have you a part of our group, and come join one of the lives if you have time. I would love to see you there. That's everything I have for you guys today. I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.